So in this video, I wanted to show how you can create a telemetry overlay like this using the Hangtime app. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open your ride, the activity that you recorded, and then you've got this overlay option up here. So when you select the overlay option, you'll have some options to input a video or import a video. You've got some different tabs down here, and I'll explain what all of these mean. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open up the video of the ride. And one of the biggest problems that you have when trying to create an overlay is that they're recorded at different times. And it's kind of difficult, or can be difficult, to align the video with the telemetry data itself. So I started the recording on the Hangtime app at the bottom of the trail way down here. And about 45 minutes later, I was up at the top of the mountain up here. I recorded a couple of GoPro videos and different sections. And then this particular video that I've opened, I didn't actually start recording until way down here towards the bottom of the downhill section. And so if I had started my recording on the Hangtime app and the GoPro video at the bottom of the trail, and I clicked start recording at the exact same time, they would probably be within a few seconds of alignment. But that's really difficult to do, and it's not very practical, and it's really seldom what you actually want to do. I want to record my whole ride on the Hangtime app, and then I just want to selectively video certain sections. And so the main purpose of this screen is to be able to align the telemetry sensor data with the video so that they're perfectly aligned, and then you can output a video like we just saw. So one of the ways that you can do this, it's kind of difficult, is by just manually dragging the telemetry offset so that the video and the telemetry data are aligned. But you can see that's really difficult to do because I know it's somewhere within this area where I stopped and started this video, but it's really hard to get it in the perfect alignment. It's pretty easy once you've done it a few times and you get the hang of how to do it, but it requires a little practice and thought to try and get this aligned perfectly. So I wanted to make this as easy as possible. And so probably the easiest way and the most accurate way to align the sensor data with the video is using this QR timer feature. So let me just show you what I do in this video. So I start the video, and before I actually go off on my ride, I record my app screen. And you can see I've selected this cam sync page. This is just a regular recording that I've got going here, but I've navigated over to the camera sync page off of the main recording page. And you can see the app displays the current duration of the ride in numerical format here. And then you've got a QR code format of the same value. And so what's going to happen here, so one option I have is I can just read this value. It's 4406. And then 922 milliseconds. I can just drag the slider right here until my sensor timer equals the value on the screen, right? I can just drag this over, try and get it as close as I can. I can use the arrows to fine tune it. So that's a little bit of work right there. It's pretty easy, but the whole point of the QR code is that the app can read the value directly from the screen. So the way this works, I'll start back from the beginning and click the Start AutoSync. And this gives you an explanation of what's about to happen. When I click continue, the app just steps through a few frames at a time through the video, and it's looking for that QR code. And you'll see here in a second, as soon as that QR code's in full view and it's got a nice shot of the QR code, it should extract the QR code value and then automatically align that telemetry offset. So again, here you can see it's grabbed the QR code, and it's automatically aligned the sensor timer here, 4408, 166, and we're just a few milliseconds off of the actual value here. And so again, that's really easy to do. It doesn't require any thought. It's super simple, but you just have to remember to record this QR code at the start of your ride. So again, that's by far the easiest way to do it. Another option you have, if for some reason the QR code couldn't be read, or if there was a lot of glare on the screen or something like that, there's another option here to align on the video timestamp. So every video that you record, probably with a GoPro or even with your phone, really any device, will embed a creation time metadata on the video. And we can use that creation time to try and get pretty close on the offset. Now, GoPros are notoriously difficult for aligning this way. They have horrible ability to keep accurate time, even though I've tried all of the experimental firmware that's supposed to align the clock with the GPS, and they have the precise time sync options that syncs with QR codes on your phone. I just can't ever get my GoPro to be accurate more than a few seconds, sometimes 10, 15 seconds of the actual time. But it's good enough to get you fairly close. You can see here, if I use the video timestamp, it's showing a value of 43:44. So I'm off by, close to 30 seconds in this case. So I'm close at this point. I could use a strategy I'll show you in a second to get it a little bit closer. But by far the easiest and most accurate way to align is using the QR code. So let me just go back and grab the QR code value here to get it aligned. And then I'll show you how you can fine tune and kind of validate that your sensors are indeed with alignment on the video. So here it found the QR value. Again, it found the exact same value. Now we can go back to the video screen here and preview the playback and see what it actually looks like. So I start the ride. There's a jump right here in the beginning. You can see what happens. So you can see the jump animation up here. It looks like I'm off. It's out of sync by just a few milliseconds. So let me go back to the beginning, that first jump there, and I'll show you what's going on. So let me arrow through right before I take off. So you can see normally this value up here on the screen on the last jump shows your last jump height along with the hang time of that last jump. But when you're in the air, when you're actually in the air on the video, it should be showing your accumulated air time. So here my front tires come off the ground, my rear tires probably off the ground at this point, and you can see the animation has started. It's showing I'm 17 milliseconds into the air. I'm continuing to go up. The bars are rising through the frame here. And I'll just arrow through here frame by frame until I hit the ground. When I hit the ground, this animation should go away if it's in perfect alignment. You can see the bars are still dropping. Looks like I just hit the ground right here. Bars start coming up in the screen. So yeah, I've just now hit the ground right here, somewhere between these 2 points in the video. But you can see my animation still shows that I'm in the air. So to fix this, I can just arrow forward in my telemetry offset. If I go backwards, it takes me backwards through the jump. So I want to go forward right until the animation disappears, representing that I've completed this jump. I've hit the ground and landed. So at this point, I should be really close in alignment with the video. So let me go back and watch it one more time. You should be able to see the animation is nice and in alignment with the video. So at this point, I could output the video. So let me show you how I'd go about outputting the video. But before I do that, I'll show you some of these options. You've got options to trim the video. So these are fairly self-explanatory. You could trim the front of the video off. If you don't want the QR code in there, you could trim some of the back of the video off. Just any arbitrary start and end points you want there. You got some options in the overlay configuration where you can add slow-mo effects automatically to your jumps. You can add to your top jump, your top 3 jumps, or all jumps. You can add that same type slow-mo effect to your turns. You've also got options to show or hide any of these widgets on the screen, and you've got an option to fade the video in and out. One more option you have here that's pretty important is inheriting the offset from a previous clip. So GoPros will split the video into 2 parts if it gets too long. And so if I import another split video here, you don't actually have to set the offset, and you wouldn't it's pretty impractical to record a QR code right when you think the video is going to split. It just doesn't even make sense. So you've got an option here to inherit your offset from the previous clip. And this is really only relevant if the video was actually an uninterrupted video that was split in the middle. In that case, now you see my offset value is grayed out. I can't manually adjust it because it's derived from the previous video. So it's basically just taking the previous offset, then adding the video length, and that would keep this video in perfect alignment. And again, this is only if the video has been split. If you want to add additional videos, you can add as many videos as you want, and you'll have to reset or set the offset on each of those clips. Once you've added all of your videos that you want, and these will just be stacked on, end to end. So this would be my first video, my second, and they would just be merged together in one single output video. So once you've got all your videos in queue here, you can select the save button, and you have a few options here in the render settings. So the first option is your overlay frame rate. So this is the frame rate of the telemetry data on the screen, so that you can have a separate overlay frame rate from the actual video frame rate. And here, 20 frames per second it actually looks pretty good. It might sound low, but it actually looks pretty good in the output video. You can drag this up, as high as you want, and you'll get a little bit smoother overlay, but it's just more work that the app has to do to create those additional frames. Another option you have is the actual output frame rate. So this is the frame rate of the video itself that you're outputting. The best option here is to leave this at match the input. So if you're recording, if you shot your GoPro video in 60 frames per second, then it's going to output in 60 frames per second. And really, I added this more so you can crank this way down to 20 frames a second, more for a draft, so you can kind of see what you're doing before you encode. Some of these videos can take 45 minutes or so if you've got a longer video. So you can move this way down and output a video faster and see what it's going to look like. You've got the output resolution, which is the actual resolution of the video that you're outputting. So the bigger this is, or sorry, this is the overlay resolution. So the bigger this is, the longer it's going to take. The smaller it is, the faster it's going to be. And again, this is the actual sensor overlay, the resolution of that sensor overlay. And again, you can adjust that independent of the actual output video itself. So this would be the resolution of the output video. The CRF is the quality of the video, and on Android, it's going to save as a WebM file. And you have the CRF option. On iOS, you're going to see a bitrate option. But the smaller this number is, the better the quality is. The larger the number is, the less quality it's going to be. But the file size is also going to increase a lot with better quality videos. On iOS, the higher bitrate numbers are going to be better quality. The lower bitrate numbers are going to be less quality. You also have this option here to use multiple processes. So basically, it's going to take the video and cut it into pieces and use multiple processes. It just makes better use of more available CPU and RAM on the phone. If you have a modern phone with lots of memory and processing power, it makes sense to leave it on 2 processes. This is going to save you 30 to 40% of the time to encode. If you have an older phone, you can move this down to 1 process, and it'll use a lot less RAM and CPU. So then you click Start Encoding, and everything will run. Once it completes, you'll have a video that is saved into your gallery on iOS, and on Android, it just saves into your movies folder. Before I wrap up here, I wanted to show one other option that you have when you're trying to align the video with the telemetry data. And this isn't as accurate or as easy as the QR code, but it's just one other option that you might be helpful, especially if you forget to record the QR value. So let me open a different video here. So in this video, let me show you before I do anything what I'm actually doing in the video. So you'll see here before I get going, I just pick the bike up and drop it a couple times, or drop it once, and then twice, and then 3 times. So I just pick the bike up and drop it 3 times. And so again, this was actually before I had created the QR sync option. I was trying to find, what's the easiest, most reliable way to sync, and this was one of the methods I'd come up with. So um, in this example, I don't have the QR code. Again, I hadn't even created the QR code option on the phone yet. So I'm gonna just use the GPS timestamp like I did, or sorry, the video timestamp like I did in the last video, and this should get us pretty close in alignment. But instead of using the QR screen, I'm going to use this audio screen. And what you're going to see here, so I've got an audio wave that represents the audio up here at the top, and then down here I've got the Z acceleration, or that up-down acceleration on the device. And so at the top here, you can see 3 distinct peaks here that represent the noise, the sound of me dropping the bike. And you'll notice there's really not much activity here on the Z-axis of acceleration. And again, that's because the alignment we just did with the video timestamp isn't very accurate. You can see there's really no movement at all. So I need to continue moving here forward until I see that more dramatic movement on the acceleration that represents the bike moving up and down. And so you can see here I've got these patterns. It looks like it repeats 3 times, corresponding with the three drops. And you can see there's a nice smooth upward movement when I lift the bike up, and then a dramatic change in acceleration when the bike hits the ground. And so the noise up here should, we're trying to align on this vertical line here. The noise should happen shortly after the bike hits the ground, right? And all those vibrations start. We're zoomed way in here, right? So this is multiple milliseconds between each of these peaks. So I can move my telemetry offset here so that the sound happens just after that impact, and that should get us pretty close. It should actually get us about as close as the QR code. It's just a little bit more difficult to do, and you've got to find this initial segment here where the impact occurs. But just like the previous video, I can go back to the video screen, and I can just play through it and actually see what's happening here. So here I start through, riding through the first turn, and you can see up here the lean angle looks pretty close. It's leaning to the left, and I make that left turn, and then leaning to the right. There's a couple jumps here, and again, if you saw that in the jump animation, it looks like I'm probably out of alignment by a few, maybe up to a second. Not very well aligned, but let's see what happens here. So as I approach this little rock and jump, you can see my front wheel comes off the ground. My back wheel might still be on the ground. It's not very visible, but at this point, my back wheel is definitely off the ground. I would expect to see the jump animation here, but it's not there yet. So I'm clearly out of alignment on the telemetry offset. It's delayed a little bit. So I keep advancing forward, and here I am maybe halfway through the jump. I'm headed back down towards the ground, and we just now start to see the jump animation show up. So I keep advancing forward in the video, and you should, since I've got this nice shadow here, you should be able to see my impact. You can see the tire looks like it's just hit the ground. The suspension's compressing. I'm moving towards the bike. And you can also tell here, I've got the, one more note, I've got the camera on top of my head here. If I didn't have this shadow, it would be really difficult to align the impact as easily as I can here. Whereas the previous video, I was using the chest mount. That's my newer mount. And I like the chest mount a lot better. The video looks a lot more active and dynamic, and it's just a better way to capture the ride. But it's also a lot easier to align with, because you can see your handlebars moving up and down, and it's really easy to see, even if you don't have a shadow, when that impact occurs. But here I can rely on the shadow, and again, you can see my impact happens, somewhere between these two frames. And I just want to, like in the previous video, I can advance my telemetry forward until I reach the end of that jump. And now if I go back and watch this, it should be fairly well aligned. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments.